Hey, in this tutorial, we're going to go ahead and model a brazier. So this isn't one that I've really done a lot, so this is going to be a little bit more loose and freeform. So you can see here I have a couple different images as potential options for a brazier. This is, something ancient Romans would have. They'd have a fire, coals in it to light up a room. I kind of like this one because this has got a lot of craziness going on. Now, I'm probably not going to model it 100% what you see here. I'm going to go for the general feel of it. So let's have some fun. Now the image itself, if I go into properties, details, it's square. So that's good. Let's go in here in a scene. I already copied these down in my scenes folder. So let's just copy that path. And I'm just going to save my max file to that location. bn_brazier. All right. Let's go ahead and here in the front, I'm going to make a plane. Go to modify, and I'm just going to square it off. Let's see, 200 by 200, and only one length and width segment. Now let's zero it out in the world. And hey, let's just move back a little bit. Open up the material editor by hitting M. And drag over a standard material. And now let's move our texture in. Assign that to diffuse and say assign material to selection. What do we got? All right, so much like when we were making our column, this is not what I would call good reference. This is actually awful reference in that there's a lot of perspective happening. We're not really seeing this thing perfectly from the side, but we're going to make this work for us. All right, so here we go. We've moved it up. It's back a little bit. It's not quite 2 meters tall. It's about 150 meters tall. I think it should be fine. All right. I'm going to right click on it, go to object properties, turn on backface cull, turn off show frozen to gray, hit OK, right click, and freeze selection. Perfect. All right. Well, let's kick it off with the leg because that's obviously the most important part here. I'm going to go into line. Let's just draw this out. And I'm going to hit like the key points. If there's like some kind of detail, I'm going to make sure I bracket that with a couple points or not. Like I'm going to go back and refine this thing anyway. So does it really matter? I don't know. Right click to end that and go to modify. Let's go in here to vertex point, move this down, move this up. And let's start to refine this and make it less awful. You know, for some reason I was thinking this like lathe, and that's really like the worst possible tool you could do for this. We should probably break this up into a couple different elements, right? Like I think I'm actually going to take these top segments here. Let's grab those. And is there a detach option here? You would think I would know this by now. Oh, there it is, down at the bottom. Detach. Okay. So now I got the bottom points here. We'll just move, go back into vertex point by hitting 1. I'm going to move this over and move this over. And I'm going to try and kind of get these points roughly centered on the mass of this thingy here. And I'm going to use sweep, actually, to kind of define the main body of this guy. Let's just get rid of those. All right. And we want to refine it to make it a little less chunky. That's probably good. Maybe one more point here. There we go. Get an extra point in there, extra point in there. All right, let's go and slap a sweep on here and see what we get. All right, that's not it. That's the wrong modifier. SW is sweep. There we go. Okay. Now we'll look here in perspective. Let's change our shape type to cylinder. There we go. All right. That's kind of giving us the basic sort of shape for this foot. So let's right click object properties, change it to 0.1 and say okay. hit F4 because we definitely want to see the number of sides. So let's see. Man, that is a lot of segments on this thing. That is brutal. Let's try this. Instead of using a default shape, I'm going to grab a circle here and draw that out. And I'm going to come over here. And notice I did that specifically in the top because I was kind of thinking, like, how thick do I want the legs on this beast? I'm just going to put it at 1.5. And I'm going to convert to Editable Spline. And segment, come in here and grab all the segments. I'm going to divide them. I'm going to change divide to 2 and hit divide. I'm going to grab all these points, right click, and say corner to convert them to corners. Now, let's grab this leg, and instead we're going to use a custom selection and pick this guy. There we go. That's a little bit more manageable. I kind of like that. And if we wanted, we could even experiment with having less points by coming in here and grabbing some of these extra points. Maybe, I wonder, is there like a collapse option here? Because that would be the dream. No. But I can go into vertex and I could set my weld to 500 and weld them. Goodbye. Weld. Oops, I missed it. Weld and weld. And notice that because I made that change in the sub-object, also this is bold, that means it's being instanced, right? And it's being instanced over to this mesh, which is referencing it. There we go. So now we can take this, and before I do anything else, I'm going to make sure generate mapping coordinates is turned on, so it's got a base set of UVs. And then from there, we're going to convert to Editable Poly. And now we can come through, grab our edges, and what I did was double clicked on it, and I'm going to scale them out. Kind of flare them out there. And notice what I'm going to do is I'm going to move them so they kind of fit roughly within that center of mass. And then I just scale them ever so slightly so that the outer boundary points kind of match. There we go. All right, so that's kind of a nice base set. It doesn't work there on the bottom, and that's because if I select everything and then deselect, there happens to be one magic poly down there. I'm going to delete him because he is no good. We don't like him. So we're going to double click and scale that out. All right, double click, scale this to match. Maybe we'll grab these edges and under loops, which I have floated, but somewhere up here in your modeling ribbon, loops, float connect. There we go. But I think I'm going to scale that in a little bit. There we go. Scale this guy out, move him over, scale him in a little bit. There we go. Move this guy in. You know what? I'm going to do loops, set flow, and then scale them out. There we go. That's working nice. All right, so I'm getting a nice base set of UVs going here. I am not going to show you how to model little animal faces, by the way, so don't worry about that. All right, let's grab these polygons here, and I'm going to hinge from edge. Now, the way this works is you select some polygons. I got 2 selected here. You know what? I kind of need just one edge. That's not going to work. So I'm going to cancel that and just extrude them out. And just hit OK. I'm going to grab these vertex points. I'm just going to move them by hand and kind of line them up where I want them. Because what I'm trying to do is get this little flare happening here. And so I'm going to hit semicolon, and that's going to repeat last action, which just means it's going to extrude them out again. I'm going to do that a couple times, and I'm only going to look at these top edges to make sure that I'm kind of getting that general shape of that little flare that's happening. And then I'm going to go into vertex point and kind of move those manually by hand to kind of line them up to match with that general shape. And let's look at that here in 3D. See, now we kind of have that little bit of a little kind of leafy flare that's happening there. So we'll come over to this guy, And let's grab these vertex points, move them down. And then we could grab these guys and do loops. It doesn't work. Maybe if I go into edge and grab them and say loops, set flow, that kind of moved them. And so now we'll just grab this guy and extrude him out. And really, you'll notice I'm just extruding just enough to make sure I get kind of the general shape that I want. I'm going to make this a very subtle extrude there. Okay, I'm going to polygon, semicolon to repeat last action, and then I move. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these to kind of get this sweep, and then I'm going to revisit them along the bottom. All right, just want to hit the kind of the top here, the top row. Now I can go into vertex and grab points and move them around. Right? I deselect here, move these down. I'm just looking at sort of this general row that I kind of have, so I can kind of manually brute force adjust that shape. There we go. It's kind of looking kind of cool. Sort of happy with that. All right, so and then we kind of got a little bit of a flare there. Do we need another one? It looks like, yeah. I'm going to do the same thing up here. So we're going to polygon, grab these, and maybe we'll go a little bit wider, but this time I'm actually going to manually select these vertex points and hit connect. So that now when I hit polygon and extrude by, I'm going to change it to local normal. It'll kind of flare them out. Maybe bring it in a lot more so it's not quite as far going out there. And I'm going to deselect the edges but scale out this part so it kind of generally flares the whole thing. Grab these vertex points and kind of move them down. Grab these vertex points, kind of move them. Kind of leave them there. Grab the polygons. And sorry, I think I shifted that slightly while I had it paused. Let's deselect these edges and hit extrude. Hit OK. Move them down a little bit. Grab these vertex points. Pull these up. Manually move them down. And so what you're seeing here is a lot more kind of what I like to call brute force. And when I say I mean a lot of people would just call that brute force. Let's scale that in. Grab these and scale it in. So you're kind of seeing a little bit of a flare here. And there we go. So it kind of flares them out. All right, so then we kind of do the same thing up here at the top. Grab these polys and sort of extrude them out and do a similar, oops. Come on, there we go. Do a similar thing where we kind of manually move these over. Oops, too much. There we go. Move these over, polygon, semicolon to repeat last action. Go into vertex, deselect those, grab these here, kind of pull them up. And semicolon to repeat, go to vertex point, kind of move these up. And let's grab these and move them up as well. And then anytime you have sort of a polygon like this, where you see this one's kind of pinching on itself, just grab those points and connect them together. That way you don't worry about any weird distortion or overlapping polygons when you go into edit the UVs. All right, so really you could see we're spending the bulk of our time here on this leg. Let's go into polygon, orbit around, go into element, grab that, cap it, grab that polygon, and here's what we're going to do. Surprise, extrude. And what we're going to do is take it and rotate it around, move it over here, rotate it, and scale it out, and just kind of, oops, position it so it sort of lines up with this guy. Bring it in a little bit. Then we can go into edge and grab a ring and loops, flow connect. Sort of did it. Let's slap an FFD 2x2. Go into the sub-object, control points, and kind of pull him out like that. Right click and convert that at poly. We can go into edge, grab one edge, ring, loops, flow connect, and same thing, FFD 2x2. Control points, grab those, and move them over a little bit. And I think that's looking pretty good. Let's really bring this home by coming in here and we're going to slap down a rectangle, and a rectangle, convert to Editable Spline, attach this guy, go into Spline, grab him, and say Boolean. And we're going to join them all together, grab our segments. So we just have this outer edge. Now we'll slap a lathe on it. One more time, I missed it. Lathe. I'm going to grab that axis and just slide it over so I get a nice foot underneath this thing. I'm going to click on lathe here. I'm going to move it over a little bit. Go back to axis. It's too big. Bring it in. There we go. That's looking awesome. Convert to Editable Poly. If we look at it from above, we can go in and grab the border. So we got two. I just want to grab this border here. And an edge from the top. I'm going to deselect kind of these sides here and bridge. And then I can grab these edges. Grab the entire ring. Connect. And then target weld them over. 1 and 2. And then do the same thing on the bottom. Grab the border. Up here, if I change this to bottom, I can deselect the sides. Bridge, grab this edge, ring select, connect, and then target weld it over, target weld, and target weld. Oops. I'm really trying not to blow this. Where is it? Why is it not working? Target, weld. There we go. Sometimes you gotta zoom right in. More than a little irritating, to be honest. Okay, so we kind of got that shape. Here, I'll show you a real quick trick for this one. Line, click, oops, line, click, 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 click. And what we're going to do for this guy is come into rendering, enable and viewport, and we're just going to set the number of sides to 6. Oops, that is not 6, that is 3. There we go. And then we can go into vertex, just drag it in so it disappears inside the main body there. And we want to make sure we turn on generate mapping coordinates, but the important thing is if we go into this mesh and attach this guy and this guy, they all become part of the same, oops. They're all part of this model, so I can come in here and an element, click on it, go into polygon and deselect the entire thing. I don't want the the polygons that are sitting at the ends. I'm going to delete those. You can see how we're getting like really nice form out of this. So let's go ahead and at this point, I'm going to create this kind of shape. Oops. Notice when I draw a rectangle now, I need to turn off enable render and viewport. Edge, 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 edge coming down. Grab this edge and bring it over. And now convert to editable spline. Attach these pieces together. All right, and then go into polygon and just boolean them all together. Kind of similar to what we were doing previously. Go to segment, grab those, delete them, and then we can kind of refine this a little bit. Sort of moving it around. I'm going to grab this point as well. And kind of move them all together. There we go. And I want to grab them and just make them all quarters. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to do another lathe. And let's make this one a little bit bigger. Kind of coming out here. We're going to set the number of sides to 8. That's good. Convert to Editable Poly. And I'm going to go into Edge and click this one edge that's facing me. And under Modify Selection, I'm going to do Dot Ring. And that's going to grab every other edge, at which point I can go Loops, Remove Loop. And now, you'll notice, I actually have a nice square version of it. I can hit Auto Smooth. And if I come over here to Polygon, it doesn't have a top, doesn't have a bottom, even better. I can grab these edges, let's right click, object properties, set it to 0.1 and say OK. And now I can kind of move it to get it to line up where I want. I'll move this guy over, kind of rotate him a little bit. Maybe scale him up a little bit there. There we go. I can grab these edges and start to connect them and move them around. There. And I can even grab this and slap an FFD on it. Come over, move it, convert to edit poly. And there we go. So now I kind of have that basic shape happening. The question is, how do we meld these two together, right? If I orbit it around. Let's go ahead, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and in create, I'm going to make a box. You see me making boxes a lot. 100, 100, 100, and create. Right click, convert to editable poly, and then I'm going to attach these two pieces to it. Go into element, delete. All right, there we go. So now we got our basic shapes, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to click on this shape here of the leg, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it just a little bit thicker. And so before I do that, go to polygon and click on this top polygon on the leg and hit delete. And then grab these. I'm going to put push on it. And push is going to take those polygons, it's going to push them out a certain amount. That's good. I like that 0.5 is good. And convert to editable poly. I'm going to come down here, grab this ring, and connect it. And then grab this edge, grab this ring, and hit delete. Because now what I want to do is I'm going to bring these guys all together. So let's go in edge mode. I'm going to bridge up. One. And I'm going to kind of work my way around, doing every other one. There we go. Nice. And then we'll go into border, grab all the edges and hit connect, or cap. And then in vertex, I really want to define these by going through and hitting connect. And what I'm doing is I'm selecting two vertex points on a polygon and hitting connect to define a specific edge. There we go. So now we're transitioning from a square shape to a much more round one. We could even come in here and grab these vertex points here and scale them. Oops. I got to change to uniform and make sure it's selection center so I can kind of scale that in. There we go. So that sort of works. Go to element, click on it, say auto smooth. Now we got this cool looking leg. Pretty neat looking, right? And here's what we're going to do. Now we already put a box on it, so let's just go ahead and say tools, array, preview. And I want to make only 4 of them. And so how many times does that go around? So what I want to do is adjust. I want this like, oops, not set the number of sides. I want to change the Z rotation. I want them so that they come all the way around to the end. So in reality, what I'm looking for is 3. So it looks like 120 units as instances and say, okay. I got my 4 legs. So I can grab one of them. This guy here, I'm going to say Unwrap Uvw, open the UV editor. I'm going to go into element and click on everything, planar map it along Y, so I see it like this. And then I want to grab kind of an inner edge as best as I can get one, like along here, and maybe this hidden one right here, this edge kind of going around this guy, and let's just grab this edge and this one here. Oops, too much. Hold Alt and deselect it. Now let's convert those over, and then I'm just going to grab everything. Before I do that, I'm going to grab the polygons in the bottom. Oops. Deselect. I'm going to peel them, and then do the peel that combines them. All right. Well, let's just grab everything and just peel it anyways. And there we go. So it's the start of the UVs. So let's Tools, relax, start relax. What is this guy down here? Let's peel him. Is this whole thing relax if I hit start? Yep, start relax. Let's try grabbing this again. Element, peel. All right, that really doesn't seem to want to peel very well. So maybe what we'll do is we're going to rotate it a little bit. And then down here, let's just grab this bottommost portion. Let's just take a look what it looks like in 3D space, because we may have not broken it up enough. Yeah, okay, so this entire shape is coming out, so we need to really deal with that. So maybe what I'll do at this point is just grab all of these polygons that are kind of coming around as their own thing and sort of take this and peel it off. Let's grab this bottom as well. Actually, no, I'm not worried about that bottom. Let's grab that and peel it. There we go. So now it's getting its own sort of UV real estate, so it's a little bit happier. Grab the top, relax that. And it looks like, yeah, we got another section up there, and so what we'll do is turn off ignore backface, kind of deselect everything here. And what I'm trying to do is sort of isolate by chunk. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Kind of breaking it off into some sections. Let's go ahead and remove those, separate those guys. Let's peel that. Start relax. Rotate it, move it up. Grab everything here. Start relax. Oh, look at that. We missed a spot. Well, what happens when we do that? Oh, let's grab an edge and we'll stitch them back together. There we go. And so we can probably take some of these polygon elements, like these little flare elements that come out on the bottom, and peel them off on their own. I think we'll be perfectly fine with that. So let's just planar map those. Best angle and relax. I think we might have some, yeah, it's probably good. Let's just take everything we have at this moment and kind of pack it in here, custom. We'll grab this element and we're going to rotate it. Oops, pack everything. Where else? We got some overlap over here. Let's grab these. Oops, turn off element. We'll grab these elements right here. And we're going to re-projection map them. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to right click and say collapse to. By right clicking and saying collapse to, it makes that change permanent. Now I can put a new Unwrap Uvw on, say open UV editor, and now all my peel seams are gone. So if I actually use my reset peel on two pieces, it should repeel them both together. And it's weird that it, what if I planar map them and do best angle? Are they on complete exact? Yeah, okay. They're on complete exact opposite sides, so they were never going to go together. So we'll just remove that. But I could grab this element on the top and bottom of the foot and repeel that. Yeah, I knew eventually I'd get it. There we go. And so let's take a look at this. Where is my overlap here? It is right on these pieces. Yeah, there we go. Grab all these and just deselect the ones I don't necessarily need. Repeel. All right, cool. Those actually went together. And projection map everything. Tools, relax, start relax. And let's do a quick select overlap polygons, only a couple, which we should be able to fix pretty easy. Was it select overlap? Oops, 3. Select overlap polygons. All right, it's exactly where those are. So this guy is overlapping. We'll just manually move him up so he's not. See this little friend over here. And the rest of them are sort of this region, which is right over here. And so I'm going to right click, say collapse to, and say yes. Notice he is still an instance. That means any change I make here is happening to both versions of the mesh. right? That's the version that is here, as well as the two other instances out there. So I have 2 vertex points there selected, and I hit connect. I'll connect them together. I don't quite know what is happening here, because I have this weird tearing. Oh, I see. I need to define that edge. Connect that together, and now it's not tearing. So basically, anytime you have polygons that are so extreme, the software is doing its best to draw them, but it can oftentimes just get so confused it doesn't know what's going on. All right, well, there we go. Now we got 2 nice sets of UVs. I think the last thing is just grab that top and cap it. And so we'll just double check, open UV editor, grab that one polygon on the top, peel him off, and I'm just going to pack UVs and then select overlap polygons. Nothing's overlapped because we went and fixed it. Now we're in good shape. So I'm going to right click and say convert to edit poly. They're no longer instances, but they're UV'd. This will be continued in part 2.